What's going on, guys? Mike O back, and today I'm going to share a set that is near and dear to my heart. 1989 Topps Baseball. That's what got everything started for me. Way back when I was 7 years old, I received a few packs of Topps Baseball cards for my birthday and just really enjoyed opening them and going through them with my dad, and he would tell me all about the players and give me some insight and information, and it was just such a great experience. I remember asking him, hey, do you think maybe we could get a few more of these? And we did, and things just took off from there. So 1989 Topps is what started it. I've enjoyed this hobby ever since. Little breaks here and there over the years, but I've been involved in sports collecting the entire time, whether it's autographs, memorabilia, or cards. So 89 Topps is a set I love. Great nostalgic feelings. So I'm going to share my 1989 Topps set with you today. This is a full binder. It's the base set as well as the traded set. They're back-to-back because, well, it's a big set and takes up a ridiculous amount of sheets. So let's go through them in number order. We start off with the record breakers. That's what starts off the set, just highlighting some of the big-time record performances of 1988. And then the base set starts right here with Dave Island. Just a really clean design, a basic design, sort of the type of design that I really enjoy. I love modern cards. I love a lot of the new stuff, but I really like this stuff as well. So then we can just kind of keep rolling along. You see to the left there, Andre Dawson. There's a good number of Hall of Famers in this set, and just a lot of guys that I remember from my childhood. Steve Bedrosian, he had an absolutely amazing year for the Phillies. Larry Anderson, he was a long-term Philly as well. I actually used to have an uncut sheet of 89 Topps hanging, so it's very cool. Doc Gooden, one of the big stars back then. It's really, really fun to go back and kind of look at all this. Terry Mulholland, my childhood favorite. Always wished he had a Phillies card in this set back when I was a kid. Craig Biggio, very cool there. So, yeah. So there's many ways to collect, and I think a great way to collect are binders. Now, I'm not saying you have to put everything in a binder, but generally, I have a few classic sets, then I have a few player binders, and I also make sure that, every year when I bust packs, you're chasing some of the hits, you're chasing for some of the rookies and valuable cards, but I like to take a few cards from each product, at least all the basic products, and make up binder pages, because I just think it's something you go back on and you'll remember players and teams and different stuff like that. Here you go right here with the 89 Mike Schmidt. I had mentioned in a recent video that I did that 89 Schmidt is among my favorite cards of all time. Dallas Green, who passed away about a year ago. Just a major impact on Major League Baseball during the course of his life. Paul Molitor. A lot of big names in here. So, just wanted to share this with you. Don Zimmer, another baseball lifer, and maybe help you get some appreciation for base cards. I think we're in a culture now here in this hobby where there's a lot of people who just chase hits and they just chase the value, and I think it should be, kind of stressed by people in this community, people who collect, that, there is, of course, value, monetary value in so many cards, so many of the big-time vintage cards, a lot of the modern-day rookies, but there's also value to be had in enjoyment. There's value to be had in nostalgia, nostalgic feelings, memories. Darren Dalton. Just a beautiful set. You see a George Brett right here. Sparky Anderson. And I'm sure some of you who grew up and remember these players in the 80s and 90s, I'm sure some of these guys you're looking, just boom, you have a flashback. Maybe Gary Gaetti. Maybe you remember going to a game that he performed in. Maybe you grew up with Tony La Russa baseball. Just so many great names. John Kruk, a fan favorite here in Philadelphia. Greg Jeffries, once upon a time, that hot rookie that everyone had to have. Greg Maddux went on to become a Hall of Famer. So there's not a tremendous amount of value in the 1989 set, which is a shame. Again, monetary-wise, it's not the biggest of deals, but you do wish there were a few more cards that had a little higher monetary value. But I will still, from time to time, pick up a box of 89 tops at a really discounted rate, just a couple of dollars, just to open. Even though I know all the cards, I have all the cards, just opening them and going through them, you just have that experience. Here you go with a rookie cup, Ron Gant. Rafael Palmeiro obviously had a spectacular career. Kind of hurt his overall appeal with some of his choices and decisions, but, it happens. Rick Honeycutt, Eric Davis. I think a lot of people forget what a great player Eric Davis was for a period of time. Can you imagine if fantasy baseball was super big the way it is now back when he was in his prime? He would have been on a whole nother level of popularity, I think. Gary Sheffield, future star, and a future star he was. Just another spectacular player, had just incredible talent. Ricky Jordan, when I was growing up, that was one of my dad's favorite players when he got started. And I remember, and I still pick up Ricky Jordan stuff from time to time because of that. Ken Caminiti, saw him hit a home run in the All-Star game in 1996 in Philadelphia. Terry Pendleton, I remember his monster run with the Atlanta Braves back in their great teams in the early 90s. Dennis Eckersley, just a great player. John Smoltz, Hall of Famer. Von Hayes, big time guy here in Philadelphia for a period of time. Ricky Henderson, Hall of Famer. Howard Johnson, what a hotel. Well, it's not his hotel, but Here's some all-star cards, which are really neat. You have all these guys who, at a period of time, were on the top of their game. Gary Carter, obviously a Hall of Famer. Andy Van Slyke, not a Hall of Famer, but a really good player back in his day. Jose Canseco, obviously an absolute superstar. Julio Franco played forever. Don Mattingly, one of the most popular non-Hall of Fame players ever. Kirby Puckett, just an absolute legend. Jim Fregosi, manager of the 1993 Phillies. Mitch Williams, big-time closer for the Phillies, who unfortunately was on the mound when Joe Carter hit that unbelievable home run. Bob Dernier, a guy who, was a really, really nice player for a period of years. And I saw him at the end of his career, and I remember he had an inside-the-park walk-off home run against the San Francisco Giants. And man, that was just one of those childhood memories, just an incredible, absolutely exciting play that just stuck with me forever. Just always go back to that. And I remember watching it on the highlight films, just an absolute blast. And you can find guys on every page. Dan Gladden, I remember him playing in the World Series, Twins versus Braves. Lenny Dykstra, member of the 86 Mets World Championship team, and then a big part of the 93 Phillies team. Kind of crazy now, but had a career. Bobby Bonilla, another guy who was just an absolute superstar. Roger Clemens, just another guy who was on top of the world in the baseball, just absolutely unbelievable. I remember having Roger Clemens baseball for the original Nintendo. Don Paul, he was actually acquired by the Phillies late in the year in 1993 and was on the mound when they clinched that division during that unbelievable season. Wasn't eligible for postseason play, but another memory. Mark Grace, absolute star, unbelievable hitter back in the day. And that's why he's on the Rookie Cup. Don Robinson, this guy could not only pitch, he could hit. I think he hit 15 home runs in his career as a pitcher, which is obviously pretty impressive. Jack McDowell, unbelievable player. Unbelievable pitcher, I should say. Chris Sabo, he's the type of guy, if you were growing up in the early 90s and you were a kid and you were wearing glasses and rec specs, you looked up to Chris Sabo. Rec spec. He had himself some good years. Got all sorts of great stuff here. You got Pete Rose. I remember my dad telling me about him betting on baseball back when we opened it. Barry Larkin, another Hall of Famer. Dave Henderson, just an unbelievable player. Nolan Ryan, don't even need to say more than that. Everyone knows who Nolan Ryan was, whether you grew up in the 50s, 60s, 80s, 90s, or you're 8 years old. I'm sure you've heard of Nolan Ryan. Bo Jackson. Talk about two-way athletes. Just an unbelievable talent overall. Great player. Unfortunately, injuries did take their toll over time. Cecil Fielder would make a huge impact years down the road. Oral Hershiser, Burt Blyleven, Rock Raines finally reached the Hall of Fame. Just so much fun to go through. There you go, Tony Gwynn, unbelievable player, one of the best hitters of all time. Jim Abbott, another guy, if you grew up in the 90s, I mean, you remember everything about Jim Abbott. What a star, what an impact, what a great story he was, and just, a huge impact. Andres Galarraga, amazing player. Wade Boggs, Hall of Famer. Devon White, not as well known, fantastic player. Dave Dravecki, unbelievable story. Dan Quisenberry, Paul O'Neill, unbelievable. Robin Yount, Hall of Famer. The set, while not holding incredible monetary value, like I said, just loaded with great players and great memories. Matt Williams. Sandy Alomar, Randy Johnson, who back in 1989 realized what an impact Randy Johnson would have on Major League Baseball. Kirby Puckett. You have some turn back the clock action here with Hank Aaron and Lou Brock, Tony Oliva. Over here we have Don Baylor, great ball player. Gary Carter with the Mets. Doug Jones, a lot of big years as a closer. Carlton Fisk, legend in the postseason, just an unbelievable player. Don Mattingly. Pete Incaviglia, big-time fan favorite. Tommy Herr, really good player with the Cardinals. Jamie Moyer, pitched forever. In 1989, he wasn't close to done. Pitched into the 2010, 2012, somewhere around there. Terry Steinbach. Roger McDowell. Norm Charlton, one of the nasty boys. Dan Plesac, still in baseball, working at MLB Network, making an impact on a lot of baseball fans' lives. Dante Bichette, his son could be a star in Major League Baseball, and he had a pretty darn good career himself. Robin Ventura, draft pick. Frank Robinson, another Hall of Famer there for you. This time featured as a manager, of course. Again, just so many memories going through this stuff. Steve Avery had himself a pretty good career overall. Not maybe the star some people thought he could be, but made an impact, was a part of some really big Braves teams. Here's another Jim Abbott. Steve Bedrosian, showed him earlier as a Philly. Here he is as a Giant as part of the Trade It set. Bob Boone, another guy who had a fantastic overall career. Lenny Dykstra, here's his Phillies card in 89 Topps. Jim Eisenreich, look some stuff up on this guy. Another guy who just battled so many things and had himself, again, a really good career, really good ball player. Not a Hall of Famer or anything like that, but had himself a really good career. Here's a beauty for the set. We have Mr. Ken Griffey Sr., who had himself a spectacular career, but was definitely outdone by his son, Ken Griffey Jr., who was just unbelievable. Not only did he perform on the field, put up great numbers, play great defense, but was an absolute star, someone that every kid knew. 89 Upper Deck, is one of the more iconic cards of all time. Just made a huge impact on so many people and on the game of baseball. So many kids with his video games and, just bringing some fun to the game. But 89 Topps, his Trade It rookie card, among my favorite cards ever. Just absolutely unbelievable. Beautiful card there. Rickey Henderson, Oakland Athletics. Art Howe had himself a long career as a manager. Randy Johnson, there he is in his Mariners uniform. So that's his second 89 Topps card. John Kruk, as I mentioned before, fan favorite. And, certainly got his career really going once he reached Philadelphia. I wouldn't say this is exactly the most, the prettiest card they put out of him over the years, but it's part of this set that means so much. Leiter, another guy who had a big career, pitched for so many teams, was on some great teams like the Blue Jays back in their run in the early 90s. And then now he's part of baseball with MLB Network, and another baseball family is Mark Leiter. His brother also played in the big leagues, pitched for quite a time, and his nephew, Mark Leiter Jr., is a current pitcher in baseball. Here you go, another Jamie Moyer featured here as a Texas Ranger. Eddie Murray. Eddie Murray with the Dodgers. It's just real fun to go through this, and you see some players that ended up on different teams, and you get those memories of, oh yeah, I forgot he spent some time there. Kenny Rogers, another really good player. Nolan Ryan as a Texas Ranger. I grew up watching Nolan Ryan as a Texas Ranger, and I know he had such a long, storied career with a lot of teams. One of those stars, one of the rare stars back in that time frame that played for so many teams. But, he's just like an icon in that Texas Rangers uniform. Deion Sanders, another two-sport athlete, Hall of Fame football player, and, did some big-time things on the field, played on some good teams. Another guy who, played on big-time teams in big-time situations, World Series situations. And we're coming towards the end here. We look over here, Dickey Thon, the first player I ever got an autograph in person at a Phillies game. My dad received tickets through a friend at work, and they were, box seats, something that we didn't usually do. We did, upper deck stuff. So we got to sit down by the field and was able to get Dickey Thon in person, and that was a lot of fun. Jerome Walton, big star, never panned out. Omar Vizquel, he's on his way potentially to the Hall of Fame at some point, so that's a neat one there that probably has been overlooked over the years. And then we wrap it up with a final few. We got a Mitch Williams, had himself a good career, but had that one really tough pitch, and we finish it off with a checklist for the Trade It set. So that's a look at 1989 Topps. It's a beautiful set. Like I said, it has a lot of meaning to me personally. I've always really enjoyed it, and I hope you've enjoyed me showing off this set. Comment down below. Let me know what you think of 1989 Topps, and let me know what your favorite set is. What's the set that you really enjoy and you look to? It's your it's your set with the most meaning to you. Not necessarily the most valuable or this or that, but what set do you go back on and have, a lot of memories? What set got you started in this hobby? Let me know, and if you make your own video, feel free to post a link down there as well, and I will talk to you guys next time. Have a great one.